really blurry. If I'm in my loungewear, I can just chill on the couch, do my thing, take my meetings, whatever. But I might feel inclined to take a nap, or my work laptop is with me all the time. So I may feel tempted to keep working on something past business hours just to get it done. However, I've learned very early in my career that you need to establish and adapt your boundaries based on what works for you. In order for me to preserve my physical and emotional energy, I want to be productive, I want to be focused, and I want to be present. All of that is to say, I want to focus on being able to control the things I can control. So for example, trying to take my lunch before 3 p.m., then for me to forget that I need to eat in the middle of the day. Or having a dedicated workspace, whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon. Well, sometimes I like being able to work at my desk in the morning, and then maybe later in the afternoon I want to be able to sit on the couch. It's okay to have any sort of fears or worries during these times. You don't know what exactly is going to happen. But the most important thing is to take it day by day. I say this because it's very easy for you to lose track of what's most important, which is your mental health. Trust me. If you watched my first video, you probably gathered that I'm very ambitious, I'm a go-getter, I got a UX role created for me, but I was also working very long hours on a very long project. What I also didn't mention was that when I graduated, I actually switched my major twice. I was taking 20+ units for a few semesters. I was also in a leadership role for a student-run organization. I was working part-time. I was also commuting from the North Bay to San Francisco. So that took a toll on me. I was used to this lifestyle because I wanted to prove myself to others. I wanted to show them that I was hustling. I was trying to get things done. Some stress or anxiety is good. It reminds you that there's something important that you need to tend to. It gives you a feeling of motivation. I used my anxiety to my advantage to produce quality work and overperform, but I exploited it and I was burnt out. I didn't really know my anxiety was bad until I went to the ER because I had a panic attack. I was living in Oakland at the time. I just had really difficult feelings about work and all the things that I had to do. I had a really hard time sleeping. I hated the monotony of my work. Nyla. Okay. Basically, these feelings sent me into a debilitating panic. I was physically and emotionally drained. I thought I was having a heart attack. I thought I was dying. I couldn't breathe. My back was aching. I felt like my heart was coming out of my chest. So 911 was called. I got carried out in a stretcher from my apartment. I went to the hospital. They basically gave me this tranquilizer or injection that is supposed to calm me down, and I talked to the doctor. And the doctor basically told me to go see another doctor to follow up on what exactly my condition was because they couldn't find anything physically wrong with me. So very shortly after, I had a follow-up with a doctor to talk about what just happened. I told the doctor that I had a couple of panic attacks prior, but this one was actually the worst. She then explained that my fight or flight response was being triggered. We talked about how that was because of the stress and anxiety that I had. She suggested I speak to a therapist to talk a little bit more about what's going on with me. But in the meantime, I was prescribed antidepressants. Basically, this doctor told me I had panic disorder. All of that was a very hard discussion to have. It was very hard to accept the diagnosis and then also learn how to manage my anxiety. You getting diagnosed, you feel like tainted, you feel like your body is rejecting you. I don't know, that's how it feels for me. I started going to these therapy sessions like every couple of weeks, and it helped me realize that there were emotions that I wasn't fully feeling, or experiences or major life changes that I wasn't fully processing emotionally that made me feel so pent up. I had to unpack cultural and familial expectations of me that I hadn't really thought about. And this really compounded all the work-related stress that I probably had. I also realized that I had a lot of negative self-talk that was the motivation for me to do things. And after these sessions, I would like cry my eyes out. Like I would have like 10 Kleenex tissues in my hands and stuff like that. But it was therapeutic in that I was able to talk about my problems and have someone listen to me and acknowledge my feelings when I couldn't do that for myself. Antidepressants also helped stabilize my mood. But a couple of things I noticed made me feel kind of off. I felt numb. I was feeling things, but the emotions were very muted. There were a couple times where I would take BART from Oakland when I was living there into the city where I worked. And I would just be staying on the train thinking, oh my God, I could just have a panic attack at any time. I would be stuck in the tunnel if I had like a total freak out. Like I was very, very nervous because I didn't know how I was gonna react to these antidepressants. I was just scared. I didn't know what having this condition meant and the uncertainty of how that would affect me as a person. I needed to accept what I was going through and feel through the emotions that I haven't been feeling. Another thing that helped me through coping with my panic attacks was having mindfulness exercises or like breathing exercises. I did Headspace in the evenings just to wrap up my day and calm myself down for 15 minutes and try and just focus on being calm and being present. Than for me to focus on my thoughts that are like running around in my head all the time. Or being able to practice breathing. I wasn't good at breathing, period. Taking deeper breaths helps you focus on yourself and just being present. So as you can tell, this was a very traumatic experience and I was in a really dark place trying to turn my life around from stress that I thought was good stress. And then I realized that it wasn't benefiting me if I was physically and emotionally drained, burnt out, all of that. I wasn't scared about telling my friends or my family about my diagnosis and what I was going through. I was a little nervous though about how my family would react. Initially, when I did tell my parents about my condition, they were shocked and they were surprised. One of the things that my mom mentioned was, "You're just overreacting, you need to chill." Obviously, that's not the appropriate response, but that's the way that I feel, at least, Asian parents would react to their child saying that they're diagnosed with a condition, or not even diagnosed, that they just say that they're stressed or they're feeling anxious or they're not feeling confident in what they're doing. What I understand from growing up was that you just need to work hard, you need to suck it up. You know, I'm blessed to have a job, that I have a degree and all of these things, but I never was prepared for the repercussions of trying to excel, to have the better life that my parents wanted me to have. Nevertheless, it was extremely reassuring to know that the people that I had around me accepted me for who I was, despite the fact that I had this condition. As I continued therapy and made some lifestyle changes, I was able to get off the antidepressants. But that didn't mean I was not going to have episodes or more panic attacks. So I'll be a little bit more lighthearted about these panic attack stories. The first one I had was in an Uber. I was in LA, I was doing something for work. One of my friends who was actually helping with the videography was with me. So we were hanging out and I was going over to their apartment just to chill. And then all of a sudden I just had a panic attack in the Uber. And this was because I was thinking about all the work that I was doing because I was in LA. I knew that I had to fly back the following day, so that was already very stressful. And I didn't know how to control my emotions because I was still trying to figure that out. I knew I had to say something in the car because I was feeling really claustrophobic and I couldn't breathe. I had to tell my friend that I needed to hold their hand. I was sitting in the front of the Uber and then he was sitting in the back. I just needed to hold his hand because I needed some sort of comfort. I knew that I wasn't in control of my situation. I ended up telling the Uber driver I needed water. Thankfully, they had some in the back of their car. And I just let them know that I was having a panic attack and I really appreciated them bearing with me. It was really reassuring to know that this wasn't the first time that this Uber driver has experienced these type of things. They mentioned that they have relatives that have conditions like this, so they weren't surprised that this was happening. Even if I'm having a total freak out with strangers, it's okay. The other instance was more of a date, actually. This is with my current partner now, so thank goodness that this wasn't something that was really creepy at the time. I was gonna meet him after work in downtown San Francisco. I was already late because of work-related things. We were just gonna hang out for a little bit before he was gonna go to a Giants game. We were just posted talking, and then all of a sudden I had a surge of work thoughts, and I just couldn't get that out of my mind. I started having a panic attack. I told him I need to sit down. So we ended up walking to the Adidas store, and we just sat down on a bench, and I just had my moment to try and calm down. And very similarly, I had to tell him, is it okay if I can hold your hand? Like, this is the first time we're hanging out outside of where we met. He was kind enough to give me his hand so I could just hold it and feel calm. This wasn't a move, I'm just letting you know. What was interesting about that whole experience with him was he was just chilling, looking around, waiting for me to let it pass. But he was like, look at the crown molding, it's really cool. And I was just like, dude, I'm in the middle of like going through something, and I go ahead and look. I realized that this helped me get my mind off of my work and my lack of control. And I realized that that was just a helpful strategy that I can implement and use to help me get my mind off of what was going on. We're still together, so I'm very grateful. The more that I had panic attacks, you feel when your body is going to react to stress. I can feel it inside when it comes to a certain point where, oh, I know I need to calm myself down before it becomes a problem. So this was a great exercise in me learning about myself and managing my emotions and practicing positive self-talk. In terms of where I am now, I feel really proud of where I'm at. One of the most important milestones here was actually being able to move to New York. But I wouldn't have been able to move if I wasn't able to sort out my internal crisis, understand who I am alone, having that time to process these things. That was really important for me to experience before I would be on my own. I still do have panic attacks, but they're not as frequent and they're not as intense. I'm lucky to be at a job where they encourage you to take time off, and I really appreciate the fact that I have that support. I have a better work-life balance. I've also taken to journaling when I'm just feeling emotions that I know I can't really parse through, and periodic therapy just to check in and get my feelings validated to feel like I'm being heard. So I want to thank you for taking the time to listen and just hear my perspective as to why I'm so passionate about mental health and making sure that you are your #1 priority. I know I'm looking forward to 2021 just as much as you are. Want to feel a little bit more optimistic about next year, even though there's still a lot of uncertainty. But I want to wish you all a very happy and healthy new year, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all very soon.